All right, everyone, we have another special guest, Gal Aga. He's the CEO of Align, and I'm very excited that he's here because he's going to talk about something that every single salesperson, sales leader, CEO, founder is probably dealing with, and that's how to sell to the CFO. And I thought to myself, like, when before we spoke, before I had got on the show, I was asking like, well, I was chatting with him and I realized that he has more experience with CFOs than most of us for three reasons. Number one, he's been on the seller side. He before being a CEO, he was selling and he was a revenue leader selling to CFOs. Second, now he's a CEO that thinks like a CFO because he runs his own company. He has to look at financials also as an early stage startup. And two and three, he has a CFO. He's communicating with a CFO all day. So he has access to a CFO more than most sellers do. And so he understands the mind of a CFO, how they think, what ticks them off, and how to communicate with them. So I'm glad to have him on here.
Yeah, thanks so much, More. Really, really excited to be here, and really hope we can add some teeth, bring some teeth to everyone that's facing right now CFO in every deal,
Yeah.
for sure.
So let's start off this because some people may not know what Aligned is. So why don't you give us a quick blurb of what Aligned does, and then we'll jump straight into my questions.
Yeah, for sure. I'll share a little bit of myself and Align. So I've been SaaS, B2B sales and revenue roles for the last 15 years before becoming a CEO and founder. Built three sales organizations from scratch, head of sales, VP, CRO. Helped companies such as Sisense, Site, and Anagogue go from 1 to 10 and did 20 to 100 million in ARR. And really continued the passion of sales as managing a sales tech company and
Yeah.
really founding my own company. So really quick about Align. Align is a customer collaboration tool for sales and CS teams. Helps them gain more control and visibility over deals. Essentially, the complexity of the buying process, especially today, a lot of stakeholders, CFO, CEO, what we're talking about today, budget scrutiny, long processes. So it's a space for the seller and the customer to collaborate, shared resources, mutual action plans, engage stakeholders, and basically help teams hit the revenue targets.
Very cool. Side note, Sisense, it was Amit, CEO of Gong. That was his company, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
he was CEO. Yeah.
All right, so let's jump straight to it. I'm going to start with my first question that I think is on the top of my mind. And it may sound like a stupid question for a lot, but why do you think CFOs were not as involved in deals, approving deals before? I mean, today, obviously, because the economy and budget crunch and all that, but were they not involved then?
Yeah, look, I think C4 were always involved for sure. It's nothing is new, okay, about that. The emphasis is that they were more supporting decisions, I think, and now they're more, hey, you have the keys and you need to guard spend, okay? So CFOs were always a step, they were always supporting, but right now they kind of been given. So right, we have the downturn economy. We moved from the growth at all costs mindset into the efficient growth, a goal, and the mantra of do more with less and all of that. So right now, the CEO told the CFO, okay, hey, guard spend, cut costs, and guard spend. So basically, that's the change. The buying process right now has an extra step. Okay, so we have an extra step, and it's a default step that has been guided from the top in many situations. The approval process right now, you need to go to this person or that person. Okay?
Yeah, makes sense. Do you think that's going to change once we get out of this down market? It's going to go back up, and then it's going to be like, all right, let's continue what we used to do, or we're going to have this residue of being very frugal with spend.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. I think that's a great question. So all people go back to bad habits.
Yes.
That's one thing that comes to mind. So yeah, we'll have scars, and but a lot of companies will just go back to bad habits and doing things the way they've done them before.
It's like
Um,
COVID. I thought after COVID people would maintain a healthier lifestyle, whatever it is, and watch. They don't. They
yeah,
went back exactly to how they
have
used to do it.
short-term memory, and we keep going and we go back to bad habits. Um, but I don't know, how much
Yeah.
time it will take and all that. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
before I want to talk about like I'm gonna ask you like how should we communicate to the CFO? How do we get to the CFO? I want to know. I think it's worth talking about how they think. And I
yeah,
talked to you about this before. As part of a sale, if you're a sales leader or CEO or a founder or a salesperson, you should have a playbook that has your buyer persona matrix, which includes who your buyer persona is, how they think, what triggers them, what they hate, what they think about, what their day to day looks like. So can you, I guess for this first part, let's talk about like what do they care about? Obviously, is it more so maintaining their job? Is it more so saving the company? Or what is like top of mind for them right now?
yeah, for sure. I think it's always the top of mind. It's just more in the extreme at this moment, this point in time. So it's three things: minimizing risk, cost control, and compliance. Right? These are the three top kind of areas that the CFO is responsible for. And right now, there's more risks. There's a clear guidance to cost control, and compliance. I don't know if there's a lot of changes there, but just because there's so much risk, the company in general, you don't want to have surprises because of SOC 2, GDPR, CCPA, or anything like that. You want to minimize risk across the board even more during times like this. So if we're talking about the first one, minimize risk, then that means that what we can do as sellers. Okay, let's maybe talk about that a little bit, and what that means.
Hmm.
So, we're not at the point right now of trying to land the biggest deal of the company and all of that. That's not smart. Okay, we'll try to bring bigger deals and all of that, but that's the point right now, to try to start with one team and scale. Okay, these are the things that CFOs look for. They want to have better payment terms. They want to have exit clauses, pilot periods, right? Or maybe lowering initial costs in some way, having a
Mm.
yearly agreement where you paid the most after the second half. References, great way to minimize risk. Emphasizing the implementation plan and how all of that goes. So that's around that. Cost control, I think a lot of the things that would help is really helping them see a rock solid business case. Okay. Um, so, eventually so cost control comes from either cutting down software, right? Or if you buy software, it has to be really the right decision. So the CFO at that point will now be even more cautious. Um, and we have to make sure that we have solid ROI model, case studies, that we really clarify the why, okay, to work with us, and maybe work with the champion. So it's very important right now to work with the champion, buyer enablement, really a lot of the focus of what we do at Aligned. Help the champion, help sell the business case internally. Yeah, so these are the key things that are top of mind and sellers can do at this point.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to the cost
Yeah,
control, but there's something that you said for the minimizing risk that I think
yeah,
I don't think a lot of sales think about strategically. I think they just go into it like let's try to close them and use the discovery, blah blah blah. You
yeah,
said there are a couple of things that the CFO that you should use as far as selling to the CFO. Don't go for the big deal. Don't like if you have the opportunity is some large sum, don't go for that. Go for getting your foot in the door, even if it's
yeah,
just a small amount. The second thing is, in order to make the deal more digestible for the CFO, have some sort of exit clause. The other thing you said was introduce pilot periods and instead of trying to go for a hard close. The other
yeah,
one is have references, so testimonials or like actual, not even testimonials, like actual references that someone can speak to
yeah,
as something to validate. and then have some time going over what an implementation plan looks like. So um, there's no risk in onboarding. Um, with the exit clause, do you think that's something that should be proactively introduced or only part of a negotiation tactic if there is pushback? And same with the pilot periods as well.
Yeah, I think it depends on the company. It's something that you need to test. If it keeps coming up right now, and you have the type of solution that so I remember a company that I was at when I was VP sales, COVID hit. Um, we kind of stepped away from doing these things pre-COVID. We had them initially in the early days of the company, then we stepped away, and then COVID hit, and it was the same situation. And we just proactively offered it because we
You
saw
brought it
it
up.
coming again and again and again and again. Okay, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not doing upfront like commitment for this amount at this time. If it's going to help us during this period drive more, because they're concerned right now that um, they can control spend, okay? But if you look at the P&L, right, it's cash flow and cash in, cash out, right? So the cash flow is built on the income as well. So what they don't have a lot of control and a lot of and there's a lot of doubt and risk around is collection. Um, so if you can show them that you trust your solution that it can deliver that much during these times, by taking the risk, a little bit more of the risk, and letting the product speak for itself, right? That really helps with that. Because okay, we're gonna spend what we spend, but if eventually this does indeed gonna bring us more revenue, more top line, and more than that, cash flow, then you're gonna help them.
Would you say that what's more important for them right now is minimizing risk, cost control, and compliance, or to increase revenue? Because
Uh,
if the answer is if the answer is minimize risk, cost control, and compliance, then leading in with our software, our product will increase revenue is going to fall on deaf ears because that's not what's top of mind for them.
yeah, look, no, I think that in general, cost saving business cases are weaker than revenue generating business cases. Okay, it just sells more. And when we look, I saw a lot of interviews that people did with CFOs and CEOs now, that said that they're cutting spend other than the revenue organization. So they're hiring only on the revenue organization. So I think that the decision making right now for companies is to cut the, whatever we can, the fat, the things that we we're probably maybe just spending more money and we can live without. Okay, but we need more revenue. See what I'm saying? So I think if you're selling something that can generate revenue, and that's the core case, then you have a better shot. If that's not, then try to reposition, try to find a way how the cost saving translates to more revenue. Okay. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know who I spoke with Doug Landis. I don't know if you know what that is. He's with the growth partner, I think, at Emergence Capital. But he was saying that CFOs they don't want to get on. They're probably not going to get on a call. They're not going to get on demo. You're going to have to communicate
Yeah.
with them through like a messenger. Do you
Yeah.
think there's any way to get a CFO on the call, or not likely? And if not, then what's the best way to communicate tactically? What words should you use or ask the messenger, call it the champion, to relay
Yeah.
that your message to the CFO?
Yeah, that's great. So I think that CFOs don't really like to speak with salespeople. Um, and I think it's hard to bring CFOs to calls for sure. It doesn't mean that we need to, you know, still we're talking about them, right? Because look, in general, Gartner found that in a competitive scenario, 95% of the buying journey is not spent with you. Okay, and in a non-competitive scenario, you get 17%. The rest is your champion and buying team working internally, researching, doing a lot of work. So I think for sure one of the key things that we first need to focus on is enabling understanding that psychology and all these things that matter, and then enabling our champion to do all the things that we were hoping to do in front of the CFO. Okay, have the ROI, business case, all of the things that they would need. And another thing, if we don't get access, of course we want to try, but if we don't get access, then are you familiar with FP&A, the financial, the the FP&A role?
No.
So FP&A's their financial planning and analysis. They're in charge. They're basically they're part of the finance team, and a lot of times they're the great resource that could help during these buying journeys to analyze ROI, to look at the numbers, to look at the P&L, to look at the budget and everything. So that's a great resource actually to also loop in. That's from the finance team, and instead of the CFO. So let's say you're going to get into a very big pilot, and there's going to be a very heavy investment, resources on both sides. Then a great thing to do is to try to loop in the FP&A at that point, even ahead of a pilot,
Before a
to try to
pilot.
financial alignment.
How would you do it? So someone's like, okay, well, that's a great idea. I never thought about that. Number one,
Mm.
they may think to them as a salesperson, they may say, well, how do I know there is an FP&A within this company? So what's a question I can ask my champion to determine if
Yeah,
there is one? And then let's say there is one that we find out, yeah, there is. What words can they use,
yeah,
whether it's in an email or phone, to loop them in?
yeah. So first of all, you can talk about the general question, which is important to ask, is how does the funding process look like at your company? How does funding budgeting looks like? So what's the process, right, of obtaining funds and getting budget approved? Do you need to build a business case? Who do you go to? Have you done this before? So all of these things, try to gauge whether the champion has done this, has not done this. If they didn't, then a lot of time just asking the questions, and they don't know, they'll go and ask, they'll find out, and then we get the answers and we can navigate this.
So if they sorry to cut you off, but if let's say you ask us like, hey, hey champion, curious, what does the funding process look like or the budgeting look like in your
Yeah,
company when evaluating solutions? Let's say the champion says, it's a great question. I don't know. It's not really my department. I'm not really sure. What would you
yeah,
respond back?
yeah. I would go and say that specifically that uh, I'm happy to go and drive and provide the investment from our business. Really believe in the potential of this partnership. What I've seen from others that really works really well at this point. We're going to start this pilot. We're going to start this more resource heavy stage of our journey here. And what I've seen that works really well is to try to loop in someone from finance. Typically, that's an FP&A person, and try to walk through a little bit over the pricing model and the ROI projections, and really try to better understand also kind of how the funding process looks like, so that we don't get kind of stuck at the end at this time by someone saying at the end, hey, we can't finance something like this at this
Mm.
time.
So I like that you're sort of, I don't know, find the right word to use this, but you're showing that, hey, I'm not desperate for your business. So before we go on a date or get married, this is how dating works. Let me teach you how it works. I like that because it shows a level of confidence. What I
Yeah,
want,
I think
yeah.
it's both it's both saying it's both putting us at that point of, hey, showing that confidence, but also I'm selling that move, right? I'm selling that next step. I'm providing the rationale behind why it's a win-win for both of us,
Mm,
right? So it's not just, hey, I want to speak with X before I invest, okay? Is what I found with others that it helped others that worked with us throughout this process at
yeah.
this point, because then you don't want to get to the end, okay, and get stuck and get something that's being canceled after we invested a lot of resources. So I'm thinking, I'm putting myself as a partner, and he's next to him or her, next to the champion in their shoes, and
Yeah.
we're not one against each other. We're working together on this, and I'm trying to show um, the benefit for them in doing this.
Yeah, interesting.
That
But
makes sense.
yeah, for sure. I'm thinking though, like, let's just say they get an FP&A involved and looped in. The FP&A is really only on the finance side. Their job, similar to the CFO, is minimize risk, cost control, and
Yeah,
compliance. Their job isn't to generate new revenue for the company, it's just to make sure the company doesn't go under. And so when let's say you do get FP&A, they're not going to see the value of the software because they don't have the problem that your software solves for. It's the champion.
yeah,
So
yeah,
how do you all they care about is numbers. So, but numbers without relevancy to a problem is just numbers. So,
yeah.
what do you recommend doing for the salesperson to show the value to a person that doesn't care for the value so much? Does that make sense? The
Yeah,
question?
yeah, for sure. I definitely understand. I think that assuming coming to a call with someone and assuming that they won't want to understand these details is a mistake that a lot of salespeople make. I think that's especially for the CFO, it's a misconception that people have. Hey, like a CFO will just want to talk numbers and understand the price, and um, so a lot of them just do that, okay, and just talk price and miss out,
You're saying
okay.
the CFOs do that or the salespeople do that?
The salespeople do that, and because they think that the CFO is just a cost saving unit and someone
Yeah.
that looks at the numbers all day and just cares about that, and then forget that CFOs care about approving budget that will drive clear impact.
Hmm.
Because right now there's gonna be so there's a VP, there's someone that's or a C level that's in there that's in management and is working. He's working with the CFO on budgets and trying to get budgets right. Um, and they know, okay, that this solution can either help with cost saving, help with revenue generation, okay, with top line, or help minimize risk. So all of these things impact the business and impact the P&L, the cash flow, impact all of that. So if we just think about the price negotiation, okay, we miss the fact that they need to safeguard that investment as a whole. Okay, so it's important to go and approach them more than just a cost protection unit and really help them understand the business success. And more so, CFOs or C levels. Any C level cares about the success of the business. Okay, we need to not forget that. What's important to not get into is how. Okay, I think that why and what you do is important, but the how part, that's the business a sponsor
You're talking
and
about like the features. That's the how.
yeah, like you're selling I don't know,
You're selling
analytics.
aligned.
Yeah, we're selling a exactly like we're selling a line. I'll talk about the importance of a line to drive sales effectiveness, the importance of a line, the line drives sales effectiveness, the line drives better forecasting, okay? What it is on a high level, but I won't go into the details of how sales process looks on a day-to-day and how,
Because they don't
you know,
care.
yeah, it's like too much. It's too much.
Too much
Okay.
because it's too much information or it's just like not relevant for their world. All they care about, because you said something interesting. You said approving budget that will also drive revenue impact, not only cost control, is something
Mhm.
that CFOs care about. It's not about just saving the bottom line and making sure we don't go under, but it's also making sure that we're driving revenue while we're saving costs. So when you say too much, you're referring to like it's not relevant. It's
Look, first of all, they should get a lot of sides of the business, and they do, but they don't go on a day-to-day that deep. Okay. Uh, Even I today as a CEO, I don't go too deep on a lot of details.
Mhm.
Okay, we're now buying a certain software for our PLG side of the business. And there are parts of calls that I join and I'm just fading out. I'm not listening. Okay, it's too much. It's the tech, how this connects, how that connects. I know I'm fading out. I'm answering emails at that point, and I know that they'll summarize it later on, my co-founders or the manager or whoever it is, to the bottom line of what this means. Okay, this part means that
Mm,
we'll do faster. This part means that we'll do this, um, that will have more agility. Okay, that will have better decisions. Or
yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So they don't need the deep technical how. They need to understand. Okay, what is it? It's a solution that does this, that does that. Um, and the challenge that we have today is this or that, and then why is that important, and how that translates into business impact, how that translates into our priorities at the moment, right? And how exactly does the potential return look like?
yeah.
And that's a risky thing to get into ROI. With the CFO, one of the riskiest. I have really bad experience. Um, but yeah, these are the things they care about.
You had a bad experience with what? Going over the ROI?
Yeah, ROI, I think it's one of the things that um, sellers should go into only if they really, really know what they're doing. Okay, and they really have something that's well built, and especially if they're doing it with an FP&A or a CFO. The reason is there's so many financial things like gross margins and understanding cash flows,
Yeah,
understanding things that, like, I've seen that the ROI model that you show a BVP is not the same thing to just to get interested on a high level,
yeah.
is not the same thing that you can go and show and speak with a, because they'll cut right through it. Like I
I'll
used to
call the
sell
bullshit.
retail. Yeah, they'll call the bullshit. I used to sell to retail, and I had an experience where we came in with a 10x ROI, and then we got on the call with CFO, and it was fast retail business. Fast retail, the margins are very, very low. They were like 5%, 10% was that type of business. So like the entire ROI model cut by 90% in that
Wow.
situation. But like, that was like, so, and we learned it the hard way, and we brought consultants, and then I learned a lot about how to deal with it, and we built something that's much, much more robust. And that also speaks to them. What they love is they love people that get numbers, people that get that level, people that show confidence and control over these things. Um, yeah, so if you don't know how to do this well, just don't.
Yeah, but don't. I mean, yeah. So it's either we don't. If someone doesn't know how to do it, would you recommend that they touch speak to their own CFO within their company and say, "Hey, listen, I want to propose this."
Yeah, for sure. That's great.
I'll tell you that something that happened to me when I was in it was a deal I remember I was trying to go after this particular deal. It was a pretty large. It was a SaaS. It was we were selling SaaS to e-commerce companies, and
Yeah,
I was building out the ROI case. I was like, hey, just this alone will bring you blah blah blah. And it's just and based on the revenue that you've said that you're doing every month and the cost for this product, it's only 0.001% of your. He's like, yeah, but more. He's trying back to me. He's like, I have 50 other programs I'm spending on. So this is not just 0.001. I felt like
yeah,
an idiot right
yeah,
then. I was like, oh my god, it was
exactly,
very ignorant of me.
exactly. Um, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of in the e-commerce specifically. There's a thing. I'll give you another example. Like a lot of companies go and say they measure conversion uplift, okay, and then their test of the conversion uplift can go and show that um, then people that use a certain tool, okay, have a 50% higher conversion,
Right.
okay, for example. But it's not your entire audience that uses the tool, okay? It's just the specific people that use it. And then they go and say, yeah, so we bring your conversion up by 50%. How much is your conversion today? It's 3% on my e-commerce business. Okay, so that's going to grow to 4.5. That's like the worst assumption Okay, that has nothing to do with it. So you're basically telling an e-commerce business that you're going to grow their revenue, because that's probably their entire revenue, by 50% by saying what you just said, right?
Hmm.
That's a common thing that we saw again and again, and
So what do you
really
do
did.
then? If someone's selling, let's just say they're not selling e-commerce, they're selling Gong,
Yeah,
they're selling one of these, Zoom in for
yeah,
whatever it is. Oh, it's because it's a marketing move to we grow by
yeah,
X percent. It's sort of like gimmicky.
yeah, exactly. So if it's gimmicky, don't use it. If there's the gimmicky things, keep them for case studies. Don't use it in the sales process.
Well, how would you know
You
then?
uh, so I think first of all, sit with, so when you build for the first time that ROI model, okay, go in and try to understand what's behind these case studies. Is it just one scenario? What scenario is it? So that's probably less of the seller responsibility. It's more of a VP sales responsibility to do. And yeah, just go speak with people, speak, understand how they came to that. I think also what we did back then, products that I sold that were very ROI driven, we just sat with a lot of companies that sold in retail, okay, and got their models. We brought in consultants. I had an investor, okay, at that company where I was a VP sales, that came from retail tech, okay, that she only invests in retail, and we actually sat with her many times on that. Like the best improvement in that spreadsheet
Hmm.
came from these discussions. It was incredible.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So tactically for a salesperson, I mean, maybe a salesperson doesn't have a consultant within the company. You're
yeah,
suggesting for them to go speak to their VP of sales to review their business case
yeah,
or their CFO,
yeah,
um, and or loop in you said it was the financial planner
yeah,
FPNY, whatever.
yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean, we're about out
You
of
know,
time. Yeah,
sometimes
but
it's just
I'll let
sometimes you can do just something really quick, really simple, and hey, so how much are you? Let's say, so sales tech, right? So how much are you closing today per quarter? Okay, how much revenue? How much ARR are you closing? Um, so if we just increase your win rate by 1%, and
hmm.
how much that would be, and you run the math, then you get to a number, and if you see that your software is much less than that, then that's a great easy discussion that you can have. Okay, you don't need a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of things if you can go and have that simple discussion. So if you don't have anything else, then you can do that, but best thing is just to go and speak with these people for sure.
Yeah, very good. Appreciate you sharing this on the insights. Anything you want to let end with, or you want to where can people find you? The opportunity to your
Yeah.
15 minutes of fame.
Sorry, I jumped here, something fell. um, and yeah, so I'd love to connect, love to help any way I can. You can find me on LinkedIn, Gal Aga. You can find a line on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll put the link in the description. Thanks, God.
And by the way, Align has a free version, so if anyone is interested,
Oh, awesome.
you can try for
And
free.
it's
Yeah.
more for enterprise sales reps, not like mid-market or SMBs, right?
Any more than one call to close can gain value. If you have a 2 week, 3 week sales process, you can gain value for it as well. Biggest
Okay.
value is
It's
getting,
also, yeah, some SMBs for sure can get value out of it. Cool.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay.
Appreciate it.